जय भीम, जय मूल निवासी, जय संविधान, जय भारत. आज today is Sunday, and today we are going to discuss very important topic. First of all, on behalf of 79th Independence Day, which was celebrated 2 days back, a very warm wishes from MNT News Network to all the subscribers and the people who are watching today. And that is the speciality of this day. Today we are going to discuss on this particular topic. And today we had with us a prominent personality. So today we are going to discuss about why are we Indians deprived of constitutional rights even after 78 years of independence. And today we had with us Mulnivasi Dr. Ayyaz Ahmad sir. He is right now Fulbright visiting scholar at the Department of Philosophy, Columbia University, New York. So without wasting time, let me welcome Mulnivasi Dr. Ayyaz Ahmad sir. Sir, Jai Bhim, Jai Mulnivasi, and welcome to MNT News Network.
Jai Bhim, Jai Samvidhan. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege and honor to be with you today.
Thank you. And first of all, wish you all the best and wish all the wishes on behalf of Independence Day, which was celebrated 2 days back. It was 79th Independence Day, and today we are going to discuss on this particular topic. So specifically to start with, we would like to know from you, now almost it is 78 years, and the span of 78 years in anybody's life or even a country's life is a very long span, an important span. So as far as the basic objective of the Constitution of India is considered, as mentioned in the preamble of the Constitution, we would like to know what the specific objective Constitution of India had set before us, before it, through the help of Constitution, what it is going to do or what objective it has set. It has enshrined so that what it is going to achieve through the Constitution of India. What do you say, sir?
Well, the objective and ideal of the Indian Constitution at a very broad level in general terms can be expressed as trying to achieve an egalitarian society, a democratic, just and humane society governed by rule of law, whereby the traditional or say inherited divisions of caste, religion, gender, sect, etc., as well as regions, they do not come on the way of people's dreams and aspirations. So, Constitution as a document to facilitate the realization of certain noble goals and ideals, which are to encompass every section of the society who was to be governed by the Indian Constitution. So that was the broad general ideal and objective of the Indian Constitution, and it finds its finest expression in the preamble of the Constitution, but also it is dispersed all across the Constitution, whether it is Part 3, Part 4, Directive Principle of State Policy, Fundamental Rights chapter, or the setting up of different institutional, organizational, governmental wings and order and organs to achieve these objectives. The entire Indian Constitution, therefore, can be said to establish that apparatus, that institutional mechanism through which these dreams of liberty, equality, and fraternity with democratic means can be achieved and realized.
Yeah. So basically, it talks of establishing a society in which every citizen will have liberty, equality, fraternity, and justice. These will be the basic principles of the Constitution of India. They are going to build. The objective, what we see is that they want to build a society based on these four principles, so that every citizen will have these four rights. So as far as the 78 years of the span is considered, so whatever the objective was kept before by the Constitution of India in front of the citizens of India to build such a society. So how do you see today where we are after these 78 years? The objective set versus situation.
Well, it's a very sad commentary, I would say, in terms of achievement, failure to achieve those noble dreams and aspirations which the Constitution set out to achieve. For every Indian, we are far from those goals, those objectives, those ideals. In fact, we are moving further away if one is to adopt a little pessimistic approach. attitude and temperament, we are, inequality is one of the highest in the world. If you look at the latest data on income inequality all across the globe, India has highest inequality, material inequality in the world. There is extraordinary concentration of wealth, property, and resources within the hands of very, very few. That global study carried by French economist Thomas Piketty, the data is overwhelming to say that Indian equality index is one of the worst in the world. Also, we look at the material conditions and social conditions of the people and the society. We find that even basic things, education, primary education, secondary education, higher education, they are in a state of misery. Ever since this, of course, there was inadequacy to begin with from the early decades of the independence, but later on from the 1990s, the privatization drive has further impoverished educational dreams and aspiration of the republic. Look at, and that has hampered our ability to achieve other goals and objectives. Even something as elementary as public health, securing public health, managing elementary traffic is a trouble. Ensuring securing decent housing for all is a trouble. Conflicts around caste differences and religious differences, now even linguistic and regional differences, they are amplifying and getting expanded. We have a very serious concern on the state of our democracy. Election Commission of India itself is under now shadow of suspicion and doubt, whether it is electronic voting machines, manipulation and charges of manipulation, etc. And now the manipulation of the electoral list itself, that it seems like a direct frontal attack, assault on Indian democracy, secured by the Indian Constitution. And all those attempts by the government and by the state to manage all these challenges through fomenting communal and caste-based and linguistic regional differences. I think that on 79th Independence Day, there are more reasons to be unhappy than to happy about it. There is a lot of work which needs to be done, and we need to definitely understand the problems, challenges in its historical context as well as in its global dimensions going forward.
Right, sir. So basically, if we see India is a democratic country and it has its own democratic setup to govern. So basically, in the Constitution of India, all this system is set up. There is a democratic setup, and there are executives, there are legislatures, there are judiciary. Means the system itself is foolproof for as far as the governance of any country is considered. So when it is all these bodies are there as a functionaries to implement the Constitution of India, what do you see, or how do you see, even if the system is at place, still the basic rights or constitutional rights are not given to the deprived sections of the society, or which is basically hampering the overall development of the country. So how do you see these basic institutions, their rights, their executive, their basically the work they have to do? It is all set, but still the rights are not given to the last man of the Indian citizen. So how do you see this?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, rights of the last man and depressed classes, also the ability of the elite. Both have to be assessed and evaluated, and both are very deeply connected. If the empowerment of the weakest and the poorest and the deprived and depressed, dispossessed classes does not take place, if that does not take place, and which has not taken place actually in any substantive manner, then the ability of the elite also to transition to the higher orbits higher levels of development, growth, progress, strength, creativity, higher levels of is not possible. And as a result, what we see today, and that is the only reason I would say that Indian elite today, I will share an anecdote. This is about 2 years that I have completed in the United States on this fellowship, and ever since this whole process started, it is very sad to say that I did not have any single Indian, whether in India or in the United States, urging or advising me to return and go back to India and work there for the betterment of and improvement of the country. The advice that I received from friends and relatives and larger professional and personal group, everyone was saying, "Oh, you got a fellowship and you are going to the United States of America, and now don't come back. You have gone outside, you have got this opportunity, you are going to Columbia University with this fellowship and all. Do not return." No one, whether in India or outside of India, an Indian that I have met has not yet they all advise me not to. They warn me, don't return, don't go back. You just settle in the US or now Europe or in any other part of the world. And my answer always was that Baba Saheb Ambedkar came 100 years back here, and he had the best opportunity to settle down. And what if he had decided to settle down here in America and not return? What would have happened? All right, so that is the state of affair. Even the elite, and so these are the people that I interact and I have been interacting for over the years. A good part of it is elite. I can say Indian elite, mostly upper caste and upper class, but also middle caste and SC, ST, OBC categories as well. The disappointment and disillusionment with the Indian project, Indian dream, the Indian democratic project is to such a high degree that people just want to escape, never to return back to India. And that is the state of affairs, which must be understood in its historical problematic, that there is a historical baggage which we have continued to carry and that keeps us bogged down. That is one dimension from which I would like to analyze this. And second is the geopolitical. We have been colonized people by the British Empire at one point of time, and now the what can be called as Euro-American Empire. So in terms of historical factors, caste as one of the most problematic anti-national, anti-social, anti-human institution, feudal institution, that is central to everything that is wrong with us. It doesn't matter, that we have got the institutional apparatus, modern institutional apparatus through the constitutional arrangement. As Baba Saheb Ambedkar said, it doesn't really matter how good a constitution is. Everything depends upon the people who go, whether the people who set out to work it are good or bad. If the people are bad, even the best of the constitution will fail and will not achieve desired objectives. So from that point of view, this problem of caste, this feudal mindset that my caste is superior, or I must think in terms of the welfare of my caste only. My caste should acquire all the positions of power and material wealth and prominence and publicity and everything. And every other caste, anyone who is the increasing order of reverence and decreasing order of contempt, that principle of feudal order, that has continued to plague us in a very serious way. The second historical traditional problem has to be the religious, and which is thinking in terms of that my religion somehow is superior to every other religion, and that problematic continues, which has been also weaponized, instrumentalized, and weaponized earlier by the British Empire and now the Euro-American Empire. So these two things, patriarchy has been also a very serious problem, traditional historical problem. So on those counts, these are historical challenges, and lots of them of our own making. The upper caste, upper class, traditional ruling elite, cutting across religions, it has maintained this feudal mindset that let us not think in terms of collective social welfare, collective social development, advancement. cutting across caste and religion and etc., gender, etc. Let us not think about freedom, liberty, and emancipation across castes, across religions, across genders, etc., across languages and regions. But shrink yourself, narrow yourself down to your immediate caste, narrow yourself down to the religion in which you have opened your eyes, etc. So that has been our own and continues to be, because history did not start on 15th August 1947. History was going on centuries and centuries before that. And that history has continued post-independence as well. And therefore, the constitutional apparatus, even though very modern, very aspirational, very, very, very beautiful, yet it does not achieve what we set out to achieve. On the second point also, however, I would like to emphasize that the British Empire and the knowledge, epistemological and knowledge and categorical politics of establishing certain categories, modes of thinking, in order to consecrate its rule in British India, that has also continued. So British had consecrated certain practices of problematic practices of consecrating thinking in terms of narrow, selfish, caste, religious, all these things. Religious in particular, they elevated religions in South Asia to a position of prominence, divide and rule politics that they introduced in the body politics of South Asia. That continues to bog us down. And that did not end on 15th August 1947, by the way. That was handed over to the emerging American empire. So the first couple of decades, say 1950s, 60s, we can blame more the, say, Brahminical, Savarna, Ashraf, upper caste ruling classes for not laying down the foundation of universal common education system, for example, universal health system or housing system or redistribution of lands and resources, even though there was lip service paid to it, no substantive action done. So by the 1950s, 60s, the blame has to be shared more. The proportion of the blame to be shared by the upper caste people is much greater. However, from the 1970s onwards, when the American empire, what is known as Euro-American empire, took a very concrete form and shape, from then onwards, 1970s, 80s, 90s, it is the Euro-American empire also, and which has made sure that independent, autonomous, nationalist policies and practices are not installed. So they have, through all their maneuvering, direct and indirect, Euro-American empire has been meddling in the affairs of the rest of the world, especially South Asia. And therefore, that is also a very serious problem. It continues to be a very serious problem. Somehow, we have, within the anti-caste Bahujan Democratic Movement, we have not thought through the hand of the empire in keeping us down. And that also needs to be brought together. So we have certain problems of our own making, which prevent us from thinking in terms of collective welfare, across castes, religion, languages, regions, and through that shared history that we have had. And on that count, I would say, if that was the case, we would already be talking about something like United States of India, as Baba Sahib Ambedkar used in that memorandum to the Constituent Assembly, a title State and the Minorities. We would be thinking in terms of this whole entire region, Indian subcontinent, as one unit, not necessarily immediately one nation or one country, but one region which needs to have mutual security arrangements, which needs to have social, economic, deep engagement and exchange with each other, rather than this constant hostility and wars and all kinds of military threats to each other. So that is one limitation that we have had.
So as far as going forward. As far as this local, as well as the domicile or local politics is considered, as well as international politics is considered, definitely both are governing in a democracy, or both are governing in a overall implementation of overall policies, and also the economy plays a vital role overall. But still, as far as the overall rights of every Indian citizen is considered, definitely if we see the population of Indian citizens, as far as the census, whatever is available data is there, most of the people they form the majority, almost 80 to 85% or even 90% of the population. So on one hand, they are having the strength in terms of population, but if we see as far as the rights are considered, these are the only people who are deprived of getting the rights. So how do you see this? I mean, they have the strength, but still they are deprived. But a minority of people who are basically holding the overall system, and they are implementing such a policies that most of the people are deprived of the rights, so that these small population people, they will be always in a governing position. So what can be done, or what is the need of the time, as far as the population of majority citizens who are deprived of the constitutional rights? So what can be done, or what should be done, considering all the current things or current developments that are going on within India?
Yeah. Well, in terms of what can be done or what needs to be done, is I'm thinking in terms of more developing a certain culture of knowledge. We have been primed to think in terms of that the state will do something and government will do something for deprived and marginal classes, and will implement the constitutional agenda. But you rightly pointed out, a small minority of upper caste people cutting across religions, they have monopolized the institutional apparatus and government mechanisms, and they have been drafting policies and implementing in a way which benefits only them. Well, it also harms them in the sense that they are the ones who are running away, leaving Indian citizenship and running away, and they are the ones who do not want to come back to India, and they are the ones who are waiting for the first flight out of India. So even upper caste people who have tried to monopolize and who have subverted the agenda of undertaking knowledge revolution, cultural knowledge revolution, making knowledge available across caste, religions, etc., through state apparatus, government apparatus, but also through civil society efforts. So that is the central thing. Undertaking institution building, not depending only on the government or the state. I mean, well, this is classical Marxist thinking, that we will come to government and the state will do all the goods that are supposed to be done. So take over the state, and once you have taken over the state, you implement your agenda. Of course, that takeover of the state and coming to power through the government, government platform, that is very important, and that certainly amplifies the ability of any group to achieve its goals and targets. But building of the institution is necessary. It doesn't really matter whether a group is what is the state of his situation or numbers or condition of a particular group. The group that goes on to build educational institutions, social institutions, cultural institutions, despite all the challenges of resourcelessness, lack of cultural inheritance and cultural privilege, cultural capital, everything. The group which set out to develop institutions, cultural institution, knowledge institution, etc., social institution, that is the group which in due course are going to become strong enough and capable of enough to take over state power. And numbers there are totally immaterial. It doesn't really matter whether a group has 1% population, 2% population, or 10%, or even 80%. Numbers, this thinking also that somehow number of population rule. No, but what was the population of Britain, for example, when British Empire expanded across the globe, and when sun never set on British Empire? What was the population of the British people? Or what is the population of the American people? What is population of America, say, compared to Africa, Latin America, compared to India or Middle East? What is the population? The share of the population of Europe, America put together is minuscule. But look at the power and the control over resources and etc., everything. So we have to build our own institutions: school, colleges, universities, research centers, think tanks, etc., hospitals, social support system, etc. International study system, geopolitical, every kind of specialization, every kind of super specialization, elementary, primary, elementary, secondary, higher education, research centers, dedicated things. I mean, a knowledge cultural revolution, which is ambitious, which is founded on the principles and values of what Baba Sahib Ambedkar says, borrowed from Buddha: liberty, equality, fraternity, and democracy. Based on values, just, egalitarian, humane values, a cultural, social, epistemological revolution. Not waiting for the state to do. I mean, those who have the control, those who have built their own institution and through their institution have captured the state power, they are not on their own going to come forward and do and implement the humane, egalitarian, just agenda of the constitution. They will not. In fact, they will do everything in their power to subvert it, to prevent it, to destroy that agenda. That agenda, their agenda would be to, is go back to pre-feudal society, even primitive society, where there is one group of people who, small group of people, 1%, 2%, 5% population, and rest of the population is slave. So that kind of expectation or hope that ruling caste or ruling class, they will on their own, just because some good stuff is there in the constitution, they will implement it on their own, out of their own goodwill. It has never happened. And it has nowhere happened. I mean, it's not just that it has not ever happened in India. It has not happened in any part of the world, that the ruling classes of their own volition, of their own will, have undertaken the task of empowerment of the weak. Empowerment of the weak and liberation of the weak is their agenda. The depressed and oppressed classes, they themselves undertake their struggle for freedom, liberation, and emancipation. And then in response, and sometimes out of basically compulsion, the ruling classes, the oppressive classes, they then make some space gradually. It may so happen that depressed classes, oppressed classes can completely overtake the structures of power. That is also possible. And it has happened. Revolution, that's the revolution that when it happens, whenever it happens. But we have been, too optimistic and very positive of the ruling castes and classes, hoping and thinking that through the government and through the state machine, they will do something great for depressed classes and dispossessed classes. They have not done. They've clearly not done. Whether we are talking the upper caste cutting across religions within the Indian subcontinent, or whether we are talking about the ruling classes across the globe, the Euro-American empire, it has not happened. The struggle has to have, struggle for human equality, dignity, peace, prosperity, for security has to be undertaken by those who are victims of it, victims of the structures of power. In the process of struggle itself, skills are acquired, capacities are acquired through which one can deter the powerful. Otherwise, we can hope, we can sit back and relax. Well, wonderful things are written in the Constitution or this text under the United Nations Charter. That charter is Charter of Peace. The things are written, and war is conducted by the powerful states and nation against the weak, and whole nations and countries are destroyed. So, we have to build the task of building institutions based on just, humane, egalitarian values, norms, and values. We have the great Buddhist values. Baba Sahib Ambedkar reignited them. We have the spiritual tradition, the Sufi tradition that we have had. We had Bhakti Mukti tradition that we have had, anti-caste traditions, the different languages, even atheistic traditions have been there in the South. So different variety of traditions which have reaffirmed human dignity, human equality, prosperity, peace, coexistence, etc. And that once we build the institution through institutional mechanism, we'll get to the government power, state power also, and amplify it. But the primary task of institution building, I think, lies with us, rather than those who we know that they are the adversaries or the oppressors.
So basically, making awareness, creating awareness within the Indian citizens and majority of people about the constitution, about the governing philosophies, and the basic principles which are instilled with respect to the equality, liberty, fraternity, which we have a heritage of our ideology from our forefathers, and who had given us a path of development, not only a personal development but the overall community development. So definitely, if we follow that one, we will, as an individual, will grow, as well as our society will grow, and the country will grow. So definitely, that plays a vital role. And institutionalization, what you said, creating, because democratic setup is there, but under democratic setup, we need a people equally who can think of making the policies, but only making the policies will not govern. But the implementation of the policies, the people who are going to implement it, they should also be aware of what the policies or how it is going to develop the individual as well as the society. So
Yes.
definitely, you are rightly pointed out. So we are almost towards the end of the session. We would like to take your concluding message to our viewers, our subscribers, on this particular day of celebrating the 79th Independence Day of India, as well as how your message on their action or their awareness point of view. What you would like to say to our viewers, sir?
Okay. Well, I would say, well, very often and very frequently we hear this lamentation, which is also true to a great extent, that we lack resources. We come from, say, marginalized, oppressed section of society, so we don't have the resources. How can we undertake institution building? That is for the state, for the government, etc. I think we got to be little more ambitious on that front. We cannot discount ourselves, exclude ourselves from the capacity to build important social, economic, political, cultural institutions. We can do it. It's the question of ambition. So once we develop this ambition that collectively the Bahujan society, SC, ST, OBCs, cutting across religion, the Bahujan society can do it, must do it, should do it. And then that thought that we can do it, and then channelizing of the resources, mobilization of the resources, those things will also happen. Those capacities to mobilize and channelize resources will also develop. So we need to develop this ambition that building of United States of India is very much lies within us, and also transmitting it across the globe. It's not an isolated, disconnected part of the world, and we can never remain like that. So we have to globalize, universalize some of our important values. That ambition, that we can do it. We can do it if we develop the ambition to expand liberty, equality, fraternity in the Buddhist sense, through democratic means, in Sufi sense, in Mukti sense, through democratic means. We can do it. We can do it within United States of India, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh. That's what I call United States of India, but also Europe. We can humanize, instill humanistic values within European American people as well. That confidence, that ambition, that desire that these violent Euro-American people who have been going on colonizing, wars and everything, looting people, destroying life, we can humanize them as well. We have got those values. We have got those humanistic values which are very useful for Euro-American people, for their humane existence as well. We can do it, and accordingly, our institutional task, our institutional mechanism will be developed and evolved. So with those messages, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Very well pointed out, and definitely I think our viewers will take this in the positive direction of developing the institutional mechanism, starting from themselves, then from their family, and then for the society. Definitely, what you said, the thinking, it matters. Once it is started, once it comes to mind, definitely it is achievable. So what it matters is that people should start thinking in this particular direction, that they can do it. And definitely when they start, definitely they will get the ways out to make it happen. Thank you very much, sir, for joining today. We will again invite you on any other different topic, and hope you will again guide our viewers on different aspects and different topics that are going on within the Indian society. Thank you very much for joining today. Jai Bhim, Jai Malayasi, Jai Samvidan, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much. Jai Bhim, Jai Samvidan.
So it was Dr. Ayaz Ahmad sir who had joined us from US today, and he elaborated us on this particular aspect of the rights, constitutional rights, and the marginalized section. So this video will be there on the MNT News Network Facebook and YouTube page. Thank you very much for joining today, and we will again meet once again next Sunday. Thank you very much. Jai Bhim, Jai Mulnivasi, Jai Samvidhan, Jai Bharat.